Mayor Mike, welcome back to Mayor's Monday here at WSAU, WSAU.com. Everything somewhat settled down from the last couple of weeks. Everything's slowly returning to normal. Is that right?
Yeah, so it was busy. We didn't get hit as hard as some other places north of us, the Antigo area, even south of us, Plover and Amherst. They got hit a lot harder than we did. We had some damage, but there were no injuries reported, so that was good. We had about, I think it was 120 trees or so between the boulevard and the parks and everything like that went down on city property. So we're cleaning that up. A lot of people had trees come down on their property, taking out power lines. There were residents without power, some of them up to 5 days, maybe even a few with a little more. But a majority of the things are cleaned up now. We had extended hours at the brush pickup the last 2 weeks. We did a drop-off last 2 weeks. So everything should be settling down now, and hopefully we won't have to deal with this for another couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the one thing I remember you saying was you were just so impressed with the way everybody came together in your community. And in a situation like this, you definitely like to hear something like that people are looking out for each other.
Yeah, we had a lot of major events in town too. So we had the USGA Junior Girls Golf Championship, 140 plus competitors from around the globe, right here in Stevens Point. And of course, without power, there's no air conditioning, there's no news, no lights. So we wound up relocating some of those people, but then the hotel power came back on. Storm damage at the golf course, they told me that around 100 volunteers showed up and said, hey, what can we do? How can we help? And you wouldn't know there was a storm that went through on the golf course. We had the Suzuki Institute, of course. Everything went pretty well there. And then a various bunch of sports events, youth sport events. But everybody came together, helping everybody out, loaning out generators, helping cut trees. It was really inspiring to see.
Yeah, it's one of the great quotes from the week that I think from you is just how downright inspiring the whole process was, even after you feel so helpless after something like this rolls through, and to commemorate your people. Of course, your city staff as well had a lot to do with that.
Oh, absolutely. Our fire department at one point, in a 48-hour period, did 62 runs, I think. So everybody's running around. It was nothing life-threatening and critical, but just helping people out, which is one of the things I've always loved about this area.
Yeah, that's absolutely something to hang your hat on there here in the Stevens Point area, and I think the residents and your employees should certainly be commended for that.
Yep, and they should all be very proud of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, some of the things that you have coming up here in the city government, and I don't know if you want to say it was lost in the mix of all those releases regarding the storm and things like that. You gonna have a pretty big opening coming up here in your cabinet in the next 30 days or so.
Yeah, our community development director, Michael Ostreski, is taking a job in San Marcos, Texas. I think it's a great move for him and his family. Of course, we're sorry to see him go. We've had nothing but above average growth the last 5 or 6 years, doing very well, and a lot of that is responsible by him and his team. So we're working on a transition now. The job's been posted. He is going to be with us for another couple weeks. And tonight at a special council meeting, we're hoping to appoint DJ Schneider, who is our inspection superintendent, or supervisor, as the interim to kind of run the department for a couple of weeks until we can get someone hired.
Tell us just exactly then what this department does. It's one of those departments that people may not know exactly what his job description is or what he does for the city.
Sure. Well, the sign on the door says community development, but it's much more than that. So community development specifically talks about bringing businesses in, taking care of the businesses that we have. Lineage Logistics has expanded a couple of times. Skyward, all these local companies, trying to work with them to get economic development to our area. He also oversees the inspection department, which handles all of the building inspections for new construction, remodels, things like that, property maintenance. And then, of course, he also oversees the assessors department, which we contract out with the assessor, but we have staff members that need a direct report, so they fall under community development. Then, of course, one more division handles the redevelopment authority, which is an arm of the city specifically designed with redevelopment.
Mm-hmm. So that would be taking, Building X and making that mixed-use development. That we
Right.
like to talk
So,
about.
for example, the Lullaby Project, right? Mm-hmm. We had a building there. The building got torn down years ago. It's been sitting vacant. We are in the process of redeveloping it. So the redevelopment authority had their say in that part of it.
So then, just exactly, I mean, what are you losing then when Mr. Ostrowski takes off? I mean, obviously, you kind of just credited him with a lot of the city's growth, which he has something to do with, of course.
So we're losing the experience, right? And that dedication and that passion. Both him and his wife's families are from the Stevens Point area. He has a dedication that I'm sure he will carry with him even into San Marcos. But we're losing that and everything that goes with that. So if you think of development as a train, okay? The train is moving, and community development is the steam or whatever that powers that locomotive, okay? Things are in queue right now where if we stop the power, the momentum of the train will keep going, but eventually it will stop. What we need to do is we need to get someone back in that train with the same passion and the same dedication to keep that steam engine going and keep that development train going. Because what happens is the state has put limits on us that we can only increase our spending by the amount of net new construction growth. And whether that growth is on the inner city or on the outskirts of town is almost irrelevant in their eyes. But without growth, we can't spend anymore. Now, considering that we want to give our employees reasonable raises, I think our steps are about 2.75%. If we only grow by 1.5%, we're losing money. We can only spend 1.5%, but our costs are going up by 2% or more. So it's important that you keep that growth going, but it has to be smart growth. We don't want sprawl. We don't want growth for the sake of growth. It needs to fit with our philosophy. And that's what we're going to be looking for when the next candidate is chosen.
So again, give us the timeline for when you'd like to have this job filled.
I was going to say that's a trick question because I'd like to have it filled before Michael leaves. Mm-hmm. That's not going to happen.
Right.
That's not realistic. So the job is posted. I think the 14th of August is the deadline for applicants. At that point, we will review them with an internal team and choose people that we think are worth interviewing, and then we'll set up those interviews with an interview team. Go through the interviews, and hopefully we find a candidate that we like. We will then make an offer to that candidate contingent on council approval. If we can get that all done before the September council meeting, council in September, the third Monday in September, could potentially consider Michael's replacement.
So we will look forward to seeing where this goes. But it sounds like something that whoever comes in next, I guess, not unlike your parks director position, mm-hmm. they're going to have some shoes to fill.
And they will. The great thing about it is, especially with the Parks Director, Dan jumped into it. He knew full well what was going on. He is dedicated and passionate, and I couldn't have asked for a better candidate. He has been handling the storm damage and Riverfront Rendezvous and not missing a beat. So he's a great asset, and I hope we're going to find someone of that caliber to replace the Community Development Director.
Yeah, that's certainly something we'll hope for the city as well, and we'll definitely look forward to seeing where this goes over the next few weeks or so, and keep our eye on that September city council meeting.
Right.
Anything else that you'd like your residents to know here as we go through the end of the summer here in
Stevens Point? It's coming up, right?
Yeah, right?
So the council back, I think it was October of last year, decided to restripe a portion of Stanley Street. Okay. We had a finite amount of money to do so they asked us to get quotes for different sections, depending on how much we could afford. Well, we wound up buying our own equipment, and I believe that their intent was to go as far as we could afford all the way up to Green Avenue. We're going to have a meeting tonight to discuss that. We have the plan that was approved up to Indiana, but we have the ability now to go all the way to Green if the council chooses to do that. So we're going to have that consideration on a special city council meeting tonight, along with the appointment of that interim director.
And that's something that it's kind of a formality, I guess you could say, that you have to reopen this for discussion.
It is.
Because of the language.
Yeah, and it's a very controversial topic. It was very contentious, divisive. It was not a comfortable discourse. However, we need to do this. And if the intent of the council is to go that far, and I believe it was, then we need to take that official action, kind of reopen that or fan the flame again on those embers. But having that discussion and then that consideration will allow us to move forward with what I believe to be their intent.
And just again, remind us, you're taking the your road and you're narrowing it. Is that correct?
So you're not actually narrowing the physical road. What it is Stanley Street from the highway, Green Avenue area, all the way into town on Michigan Avenue is currently 4 lanes. The council believes that a lane reduction, a majority of council rather, believes that a lane reduction in there would make the roads safer to travel. So they're taking the 4 lanes and making it a 3-lane road, effectively 1 lane in each direction, and then a turn lane in the middle, a left-hand turn lane in the middle, and then putting bike lanes on either side of it. And that's what was approved. That is what the project is going forward. However, we have the equipment, so we saved a little money on the overall project, and that equipment will allow us to go further if the council chooses to do that. And as I said, I believe that was their intent last year. I believe that's their intent going forward.
So and that meeting is going to be held tonight, you said, correct?
Tonight at a special meeting, 6:30, I believe, is when the special council meeting is.
And is that going to be here at the courthouse then? Or is
It
that
will
going to be
not. That's going to be in our community room at 933 Michigan Avenue, which is also the police department.
Yeah, and that's kind of your alternate meeting location.
It is. Well, so that's our primary meeting location
Okay.
now. The council meets up in council chambers here at City Hall, but all of the other meetings basically are now in that community room because we've got video access. It makes it real easy to record things.
So if folks want to come out and again take in that meeting, that's where that will be at.
Absolutely.
At the police department.
Yep.
Again, I know you've got a couple other festivals too that are just kind of wrapping up here because we're getting to the end of the summer. The beginning of the school year is not that far off for some.
I know, it kind of stinks to say that, right?
I know. It still hurts. It still hurts. And
You go to the stores and there's school supplies. But
I know.
So we had our last City Band concert last Wednesday. They're done for the season now. We have our last Levitt Amp Series music event this coming Thursday at Riverfront at the Bandshell here at Piffner Pioneer Park. Come on out. It's great live music. They got food trucks and activities and beverage carts. It'll be a good event. Then, of course, towards the end of the season, you start getting things like Jazz Fest is coming up over Labor Day weekend. And I think Art in the Park is coming up. We have Taste of the Town, also at Piffner Pioneer Park. It's a fundraiser for the one of the local charities. And we're kind of winding down the season. Students will be back here at the university by the end of August, and we will be back to our same old vibrant community with less sunshine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we always appreciate the time, Mayor Mike, and we'll look forward to chatting again next month and welcoming all those new part-time Stevens Point residents as well.
Great. All right. Thanks again.
Yep.